What's up, Dolphins? Travis Wingfield here with you guys from the Drive Time podcast on the official Miami Dolphins podcast network. And I'm thrilled to be joined by John Congemi of the Audible podcast, along with his co-host, Kim Bocamper, also on the official Miami Dolphins podcast network. And we're talking all things NFL Draft 2020, just about a week away now as we gear up for Thursday, April 23rd at 8 o'clock Eastern to get a look at these 14 Miami draft picks and where they might go. And we start today in the backfield, taking a look at who might join Jordan Howard alongside him in that Miami Dolphins backfield, John.
Well, I think DeAndre Swift's the guy out of Georgia we have to talk about first. You get complete body control and you get explosiveness. Those are the two things I see when I watch him run, because not only in between the tackles, but even outside on the perimeter, he knows exactly what he wants to do and where he wants to go. And there's not a whole lot of hesitation of him getting there. Between the tackles, it's point A to point B, and then he makes people miss within the tackles. I like his yards after first contact. I like the strength that he brings to the table. And I love the way he finishes runs. You know that he's initiating contact in the middle of the run, at the end of the run. When he gets up, he feels like he wins all the time. So I like the speed on the outside. He's not a big guy. He's only 5'8", 210, 212 pounds. But as a lot of these backs are this year in this year's draft, you get a lot of guys that are going to press the line of scrimmage. They're going to get what's there, take what's there, and also can be a three-down back. You can block, you can catch it out of the backfield. So there's a lot of really good traits you like about DeAndre Swift.
I'm glad you mentioned the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, because he really offers a big boost to your passing game. The way he can catch the football, whether it's on flat routes or swing routes, and then quickly transition upfield into a runner, it's very smooth and very seamless. And you kind of see that ability in short areas too, like you mentioned, the one cut slash type of runner to press the line of scrimmage and then pick your bang, bounce, or buck option there as a running back on those three choices on the zone running scheme. So I think that he offers plenty in the running game, also in the passing game. And another guy in this draft class that does that is Ohio State's J.K. Dobbins. I'm going to give you a stat here, John, then I'll throw it to you. This guy had 6 games against ranked opponents last year, ran for over 1,000 yards in those games and 12 touchdowns. Just the bright lights come on and he shines his best. J.K. Dobbins, what do you think about that back from Ohio State?
Well, it says a lot, because as a running back or as a quarterback, usually the brightest lights are on when the biggest games are on. And it looked like Ohio State, when they weren't doing it on the air, they had one option on the ground, and that was Dobbins. And I really think he's a smooth operator. When I watch him run, I get a little bit of a different feel. It doesn't look like he's moving a whole lot to the outside, or he's just gliding out there, but he's getting there with a purpose. And I think that he, like Swift, likes to initiate contact. He likes the contact because he's good. He can only give you half of his body and then be able to bounce off, spin off, and get that extra 1 or 2 or 3 yards. He's always following forward. He's another guy that could be a three-down back. I think Jordan Howard's going to have, if he had one of these two guys next to him, he'd probably be smiling, because it's a 50-50, 60-40 type of running back, that it doesn't matter who's carrying the bulk of or getting the majority of the carries on the ground or the touches out of the backfield. You're going to be fresh because you've got a guy of equal talent. So I really like what Dobbins did. And that stat that you threw out there really, to me, tells me in the biggest games, he was able to kind of bow his shoulders back and put that offense, at least that running game, on his shoulders and carry the load for the Buckeyes.
I love your comment there about the ability to be interchangeable between running backs and not having to take out portions of the playbook regardless of who's on the field. And there's a lot of guys in this class, I think, that offer that. And in terms of the production, nobody was better than Wisconsin's Jonathan Taylor. 3 years there at Wisconsin, he's the 6th all-time leading rusher in college football, and everybody ahead of him played 4 years. So this guy would have probably broken the record if he had a 4th year in college. Jonathan Taylor, inside, outside, split zone, zone scheme, man scheme, whatever you want to run with this guy, he's going to find a way to get yardage and churn him out, and he's a big-time back. John, what do you think from the Wisconsin product there in Jonathan Taylor?
Well, I think he's the biggest of the backs that we're going to feature, and out of the guys that are going to go in the first 3 or 4 rounds, he's probably the fastest. You know, at a guy at around 5'10", 5'11", 225, 230 pounds, he's sub 4'4". Now, this is a guy that's a home run threat anytime he gets to the second level. 3 Big Ten rushing titles. You talked about his career at Wisconsin, and they weren't really known for their passing game. So this is a guy that was relied on week in and week out. Number one, he had to stay healthy. he was going to get a bulk of the carries, and that's probably the biggest thing, along with ball security. If you're looking at his tape for 3 years, you're going to say, okay, I want Jonathan Taylor. Give me some traits maybe why I don't want him. They're not many, but the tread on the tires is a little bit more than maybe some of the other backs that are going to be in position to either for the Miami Dolphins to take at 26, or maybe the Miami Dolphins to look at in the second round. Now, is it enough to move off of a guy like Taylor? I don't think so. I think you're going to get 4, 5, 6 years if you had him in the aqua and orange. You're going to be able to get the best out of him, because I do believe he's going to translate from college football to the NFL. He's got a bend, he's got a good burst, and he's really good in traffic. And he's more or less like Dobbins is he's smooth. He doesn't look like he's churning the wheels on the bottom, but he's gaining 5, 10, 15 yards down the field. And like I said, he's probably the biggest home run threat of all the guys that we're going to talk about.
That's one of the things with Jonathan Taylor you recognize is that he's got a very, very high floor in terms of what he could be at the next level. Definitely going to be a guy that produces wherever you draft him. Those guys we talked about could be first round, could be second round picks. How about a couple of names you might get in the back end of round 2, maybe on the end of day 2, or maybe even in the beginning of day 3 in the 4th round?
Well, EDWARDS-HELAIRE out of LSU. I think he's a guy, diminutive, only at 5'7", but man, he runs like a 6'2" back. And that's what I like, especially around the goal line. 16 touchdowns, over 1,400 yards. That's a guy that I'd like on my roster just because of his toughness. And then Cam Akers, we were talking about him during the week from FSU, has that track speed once he gets in the open field, and played behind a bad offensive line. It's only going to get better, hopefully, when he gets to the National Football League.
Couple of notes on those guys. Joe Burrow said Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the best player he's ever played with, and he played at LSU and Ohio State, so high praise for him there. Cam Akers, I asked him this at the Combine, not the best results for Florida State when he was there, but he was always playing hard. I love that about his tape last year, John.
Yeah, I guess it's whatever your flavor is. If you're an NFL scout, a head coach, a general manager, all these guys have talent. Who's going to plug and play best in their system? For the Miami Dolphins, the guys we talked about and mentioned, give me one of them. I'll take them.
And there are plenty of running backs available in this year's class, and plenty of players across the positions on the offensive and defensive side for the Miami Dolphins. 14 draft picks. We're excited to have that all go down April 23rd, 8 o'clock Eastern. The NFL draft coming your way. Travis Wingfield, Drive Time Podcast, John Kangemi of the Audible Podcast on the Miami Dolphins official podcast network.